Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to ABA Learning on Demand. The topic for today's IndieCommerce webinar is the bulk upload of custom products. My name is Geeta Nathan and I will be the moderator. Before we start, I'd like to go over a few items so you can participate in today's webinar. You're listening in using your computer's speaker system by default. If you would like to join over the phone, just select phone call in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. What you see on the screen is for a sample webinar, so please do not use that dial-in number. Let's do a quick video and audio check. If you can hear me and view my screen, please click on the small hand icon on your GoToWebinar panel. We will give everyone a little time so they get a chance to click on the small hand icon on their panel. Okay, it looks like everyone is good to go. All participants are in a listen-only mode. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can type them into the question pane on your control panel. We will address all these questions during or after the presentation. There will also be a Q&A session after the presentation. Today's webinar is being recorded. The recording will be posted by early next week on the IndieCommerce Webinar Center on bookweb.org. Here with me today to present today's topic is Matt Supko. From 2008 to 2012, Matt was the Director of Technology at ABA and head of the IndieCommerce team. Matt continues to be a very important member of the IndieCommerce family as a technical architect and developer. He has designed and developed several new features, one of which is the bulk upload of custom products. So I will now hand it over to Matt to start his presentation. Matt, you're good to go.
There we go. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. You should be seeing my desktop as well.
Yes, you're good to go.
Good to go. All right, great. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to share this new feature with you guys. We've had it on the platform for several months now, and we've been kind of trying it out with a handful of stores. Some of you may be using this feature or have heard a bit about it. Ultimately, the goal is to try to make it as easy and as safe as possible for stores to quickly add a large amount of custom or unique products to their website. As you are probably all well aware, historically, if you wanted to add new products to your website, it was a one-by-one process. You'd have to go through the form each time and type in all the data by hand, and it works great for a small number of products, but if you've got hundreds or thousands, it's not so good. So this feature is designed to make that process easier, but it also has some safety rails, so to speak, that will try to catch common problems and hopefully prevent a lot of bad data getting created by giving you some checks before you push through a large file. So what is this feature for? Well, specifically, it's to help you create dozens, hundreds, or thousands of custom products based on a spreadsheet. So that means to work with this, you will need some kind of spreadsheet software on your computer. Obviously, Microsoft Excel is a popular choice. If you have a Mac, it would have come with the program called Numbers. That's a spreadsheet program from Apple. So, and there are some other open source and free software alternatives for spreadsheets. Once you have uploaded and processed your spreadsheet, your products are going to appear in search, and you can edit them individually through the site after they've been created. So for all intents and purposes, this really isn't any different in terms of the end result than creating your products through your website by hand. It's just sort of a faster way of doing it for a large number. However, you can also continue to manage your product data by re-uploading spreadsheets. So you can change stock information, you can change pricing information, and you can continue to make updates to the metadata. So that means the title, the description, the image of the product. You basically have the choice to edit by hand, edit by spreadsheet, or both, whatever is more convenient for you at any given time. This feature also allows you to export your product data in bulk for backup. So if you want to download, all of the products on your website and keep a copy, you can do that. It also allows you to make edits to existing products and then re-upload in order to make changes in bulk to a large number of products at once. So something you may be wondering is, how is this feature different from LSI? LSI, of course, is local store inventory. It's a feature we've had on IndieCommerce for many years. And the LSI feature allows stores to upload information about which books they have in stock. However, the LSI feature only takes 4 fields. So that's the ISBN, quantity, price, and section. And it's designed for books that are already for sale. So they're already available on your website through the feed that we get from Ingram. In this case, IndieCommerce doesn't know the products that you want to sell. They're new products, so you have to provide all the information for them. This gives you the opportunity to use as few or as many metadata fields as you want. So in addition to providing the title of the product and the price and the image and stuff, you can add other text fields, you can add attributes and options, you can add other images, etc. Also, these products can be removed from sale if the stock runs out, unlike books, which can always be ordered even if they're not necessarily in stock. So there are 4 steps here, and we're going to go through all 4 of those steps in some detail as we go through this webinar. The first step is to prepare. So we're going to create a spreadsheet file with all the products that we want to upload. And as we'll see, the system is going to help us by providing us with a template. So we're going to be able to get a spreadsheet template out. And once we have that template, we can, type in our data by hand, or if we have a file already, we can kind of manipulate that file to match the formatting of this file and then upload that. So once we've got our spreadsheet ready, we can upload that spreadsheet to the site. Once the spreadsheet's been uploaded, there's a guided interface for validating it. So this is just to double check the data. This is to make sure that we don't have any duplicate SKUs or field mismatches or other common problems. And once we've gone through that validate stage, we can publish the products to the site. And that's going to actually take all that data that we've had pending and create a whole bunch of products and push them out the door ready to go. Now, in order to understand how the product upload feature works, it's important to understand exactly how products on the site work in general. So I'm going to give you a quick refresher course here on custom products on IndieCommerce. But if you need more information, we have a lot of stuff up on BookWeb that can help too. So product classes. When we talk about product classes, we are talking about different types of custom products on your website. For example, that might be t-shirts or gift cards or calendars. Any unique kind of line of product your store sells is probably a good candidate for its own product class. Product classes also act like content types on your site, and that means you can add different fields to each of them. We're going to import and export custom products per class. So it's recommended to create specific product classes for each unique product type you sell before starting to use the bulk upload feature. We don't recommend that you use the generic default product class. When you got your IndieCommerce website and set it up, there's a default class that's just called product, and it's generic. It basically has a title and a body and a price, and it's fine. But as you'll see as we get through the interface here, it's going to be a lot easier to manage your products if you organize them into different classes. a key concept here is the concept of staging tables. Now, staging tables are temporary tables that's going to hold your product data while it's being validated and then processed into the site. And again, the reason we have these is whenever you're uploading a large amount of data, you don't want a single typo in the file to create 10,000 products where the SKU and the price got flipped or something. So that's why we have this validation process. Now, there are 3 staging tables per product class. We really only need 1 of them, and then 2 of them provide extra features, as we'll see. Each staging table has a schema which reflects the details of your product class. So that means not only the basics like the title and the price, but any additional fields or attributes and options, any other unique things about your product class are going to affect how this staging table is laid out on the site. We'll talk a bit about how staging tables may need to be rebuilt when a product class changes. For example, if you add or remove a field from the class, the staging table is going to need to be updated to reflect that. But we don't have to worry too much about it because staging tables will let you know if their schema is out of date. So as we go, we'll see some examples of that. As I mentioned, there are 3 staging tables. The first and most important one is what we call the field table. So the field table defines the basic properties of each product. That includes the title, the description, the SKU, and the basic sell price of the product. This table is also going to include any custom fields that you have added to that product class. The next table is the attribute table. This allows us to define variations of existing products using attributes and options. For example, to specify size and color variations. And finally, the third table is for stock. This allows us to provide information about the quantities on hand, either per product or per attribute option combo. Only the field table is required. So if some of this seems a bit overwhelming, you don't have to worry about the other 2 tables to get the benefits of this feature. You can use the field table just to create a ton of content on your site, and the other ones you'll find useful as you go. All right, so at this point, I'm going to switch over to a live demo on a sample site, and we're going to create some products. So let's say that we have decided that we want to carry a new line of custom bookmarks for our store. The first thing we want to do is create a new product class. So on my IndieCommerce site here, I'm going to go to the store menu and then to products. And then I'll click on manage classes. This shows a list of existing classes on our site. And at the bottom of this page is a form called add a class. So in order to create a new class on our website, we just have to fill out the details of this form. It's going to ask us for something called a class ID. This is a machine readable name of the content type. That basically means no spaces, no special characters, but you can use underscores and things like that. So we can see we have some existing products up here above it. So our new product is going to be called Bookmark. And I'll just type Bookmark here. Then we have a field for the class name. This is meant to be more of a human readable name for the class. This is something that administrators might see on your site. And I'm going to put the same thing, except in a nod to grammar, I'm going to capitalize the first letter. So we'll have capital B, Bookmark. And then there's a description. And this is really just for administrators. Your customers are not going to see the description of your product class, but our admins will. So I'm just going to say bookmarks for sale at our store. And I'll click save. And at this point, we'll see that we've added a 5th product class here to our list of existing classes. Now, at this point, we've already done everything. Yes?
Earlier you had mentioned that stores should stay away from using some of the default terms that are used by Drupal. Can you just go over the other names and other content types? Like they should not use the word book because that is a content type, though it's not a
right.
class.
That's a good point. I think book is probably the most confusing one. Drupal has had, since time immemorial, a content type called book, and it refers to a series of pages that can be related to each other. Kind of like a book has sections and chapters, the book module lets you create content on your site that has subpages and a table of contents and things like that. So yeah, you definitely would want to stay away from using a term like book. And anything you see here on this screen, it already exists. Now, if I try to add a class and that class already exists, that content type's already in use, it should give me an error. Just for fun, let's see what happens. Oh, it let me do it. Well, I probably just destroyed my website.
You just probably lost all your book content type. That should be fine.
I probably did. Yep. See, now it's now all my. I think that what I actually did is add. That's so interesting. I actually added product fields to that class. Well, anyway, if you want to be safe, you can always use a unique name in front of your products. You could use your store name. I could put Matt_bookmark or something like that. In my case, I happen to know there's nothing currently on my site called bookmark. So now that I've got my product class created, I can go and add content just as I normally would. So I can go to content, add content, bookmark, and now I can start creating using the same form as normal, provide the title, the SKU, the sell price, and right, this is all great, but where's the fun in that? We want to upload products. So we're going to just completely ignore this screen for now, and instead we're going to go to Store, Products, and then Import Products Status. So when I visit this screen, it's going to show me a list of all of the existing types of product on my site. And for each product, I'm going to see these three tables that I mentioned earlier. There's the field import, the attribute import, and finally, the stock import. Now, we want to look at the status for each of these tables. And in the case of our class bookmark, which we just created, we see that it says missing. So there's a little arrow to the right of it. And when I click that arrow, this box will drop down and I can see there's a command in there that says build. So at this point, I'm just going to click the build command. And I'll confirm here that I want to create it. And it takes a second or two. And once it's done, you can see here it says up to date. So now when I click this little arrow next to up to date, this whole action box drops down and I've got some more interesting stuff in here now. View staged products will allow us to see any products that we have staged, and also, as you'll see, that's going to be where we go to upload our content. Download blank CSV template allows us to download a blank template to get us ready to start adding products to it and uploading those. Download export of existing products provides basically the same file as the blank CSV template, except it won't be blank. It'll take all of the content that's currently on our site and provide it to us in an export. And finally, rebuild lets us rebuild the table. This can be useful if there are any problems with the table or when the table needs a rebuild because we've made changes to the product class. For example, by adding a field, we may need to use that option there. So at this point, we have no products on the site and no spreadsheet yet to upload. So we're going to start by downloading the template. So I'll click that link there that says download blank CSV template, and that's going to shoot a file into my downloads on my Mac. So I'm going to just open this file in Numbers, which is the spreadsheet software I have on this computer currently. If you have a copy of Excel, you can open it with Excel as well, either by sort of dragging it onto Excel, or you can open Excel and start the import workflow for a CSV. A word about CSV files. Many of you may be familiar with them from other uses in your store and other uses online. Just in case it's a bit new to you, a CSV file it stands for comma separated value, and it's basically a plain text spreadsheet. So software like Excel and Numbers, by default, when you save a spreadsheet from that software, it makes a file that's it's got machine code in it, it's got binary code in it. If you try to just pull that file into a word processor and look at it, you can't. But a comma separated value file is just a plain text file. So if you put it in a word processor, like I'm going to do right here, you'll see that it's actually just plain text values separated by commas. And these kinds of files are very common online whenever you want to exchange information with websites, because it's much easier for websites to work with plain text files than it is for them to work with binary files. So very common to use CSV files to exchange data back and forth with a website. However, once we've got our CSV file open here, we can see, I think Excel will give you a ton of blank lines by default. Numbers doesn't, but for Numbers, I can just use the Enter key to add blank lines if I want to. And I want to call your attention to these headers here. These headers are extremely important. In fact, they're the whole reason that we have the system generate the file that you can download and work with, is that when we upload this file again, it's going to look at these headers in order to understand which values are in each column and know how to use those. So it's very important that we don't modify or remove these headers from the file. And if we add others or change them, then those values are just going to be ignored. Each of the headers contains some important data in it. For starters, we have the SKU field. So this is a unique value that identifies each product. It's also called model sometimes in UberCart on your website. And for every product we upload, we're going to have to provide a unique SKU. The title just refers to the title of the product, how it's going to appear on the site. Sell price means the price that we're going to sell this product for. Published is the same as the published checkbox on your website. So if I am, let's say that I'm creating a new product, when I go to the very bottom of the screen here and I look at the publishing options, I can choose whether or not the product is currently published. And if it's unpublished, that means that it's available on my site, but only an administrator can see it. And that can be a useful tool for us to add content to the site without making it live to visitors just yet. So this column, we can put either a 1 in it to indicate that a product is published and we want it to be available for sale, or a 0 to mean that a product is unpublished, meaning we want to go ahead and create it, but not yet make it available to customers. If it's your first time using this feature and you're not entirely sure what it's going to do when you press the upload button, one thing you can do to kind of help defray any potential problems is you can leave your stuff unpublished. So you can put a 0 here. And that way, everything will get created and you can review it, but it won't necessarily get pushed out right away to the site where a customer might come across it. Once you're comfortable with it, it's very easy to go back into the sheet and just change the 0s to 1s and re-upload, and all your products will get put up for sale at that point. So these 4 fields here, SKU, title, sell price, and published, those are going to be required. So every product in our file is going to have something present in those 4 fields, or we're going to get a validation error when we try to process it. From then on, we have a number of fields that start with FLD underscore. And that FLD underscore means that this is a field in Drupal. So by default, when you create any new product class, you're always going to have 2 fields that get attached to that. One of those is the body field, which refers to the description, the product description, and that's called FLD underscore body. the next one is the image. And the technical machine name of that field is UC product image. So on this spreadsheet, it's going to be called FLD underscore UC product image. And you'll see as we go, when we create a field or two of our own, they're also going to appear on the sheet, and they're going to be called FLD underscore, and then whatever machine name we chose to give that field. These FLD fields, unless you say that they're required, they're optional. So, it's perfectly valid for us to create a product without a body. We can create a product without an image. Obviously, we'd rather not. We'd prefer to provide those things, but just sheer in terms of what the system will accept, these fields are optional.
Matt, one quick question on this from an attendee. As long as the fields are available, is it okay to rearrange the order of these fields?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, it is. So the system uses the headers to identify the contents of each column, but it's not essential that they be in any particular order. So and in fact, a common use case would be if you're modifying an existing file. So maybe you already have a spreadsheet that has all of your product data for your selection of calendars or journals or something like that. You don't need to start all over and try to fill out this template. You can take that existing spreadsheet and just change the headings to match these headings here. All right, so it's up to us now to fill the sheet in with our products that we want to upload. I recommend, as you're getting the hang of the system and how it works, it's probably not a great idea to upload 20,000 products on your first try. Even in developing the feature, I wasn't foolish enough to try that. So it's generally a good idea to try, maybe 2 or 3 at a time, and get a feel for how it's going to react to the data and what it's going to do and what it likes, what it doesn't. And once you've started to get a couple of them created, then you can drop a larger file and larger ones. And I know we have some stores using this feature now that are providing, 10 or 20,000 SKUs at a time. So I would work up to that and develop a comfort level with the spreadsheet that you're building and the way the system's going to ingest it before you start doing a ton of data. Also, we only have an hour left, so I can't type 20,000 products now. So I'm going to create a bookmark product, and we're going to upload it and see how it goes. So let's see, it's almost October. It's going to be Halloween soon, and I love black cats. I have a black cat in my life, and she's very sweet. So we're going to create a bookmark for her. We're going to call this, we got to give it a SKU, so I'm going to call it catmark 123. And for our title, we're just going to call it a black cat bookmark. Black cats are money right now. I mean, they're really, I think you can make bank on black cats. So I'm going to try to sell these for $10.95 a piece. And we're going to say 1 here to have it published. And then remember, this body is just the description of the product. So I'll write a quick description. And finally, the image. Now, you may have been wondering, how am I going to put an image in a spreadsheet, right? Am I going to try to actually insert the image in this column and upload that, or how's that going to work? Well, we went around and around about how to implement this, and the way that we have done it is, if you want to provide an image here, all you have to do is have that image up somewhere online already. So, you could upload it somewhere else on your site and provide a link that way. You could, if you're working with a vendor, they may have the images up on their site. If it's a common or popular product, you can basically get a link from anywhere as long as the link results in an image, and put that link in this column. So just to make this easy on myself, I'm going to go to Google image search, and I'm going to see who else has had my brilliant idea. Oh, lots of people. Great. So I just have to choose one of these images, and we're going to upload it to my site. I'll start with this one. So what I'm going to do is just right click on this, or control click here actually on my Mac, and I'm going to say that I want to copy this image address. So that's going to give me on my clipboard a URL that goes back to this image somewhere online. And I'll just switch back over to my numbers application and paste that in here. And I'm going to just stretch this out a bit so you can see it. It's not a very pretty URL, but it is, it's a working URL. It's on Pinterest. So what's going to happen is when we upload this file, your IndieCommerce site, the IndieCommerce web server, is actually going to follow this link, and it's going to grab the image that's there and download it and save it locally. So it's not like we're hot linking to the image. It's just a one-time thing. So the first time we process this file, it's just a convenient way of telling our server, hey, we want to use the image located at this URL on the internet. Just go get that image, download it and save it, and we want to associate that with this product. And that's going to give us all the advantages of uploading the image ourselves. For example, we can use the image styles to resize it. Maybe we want it to be very large on the product page and much smaller in the search results. It's going to allow us to do all those things. So just to prevent any noise, I'm going to just remove these empty rows from my file. You don't actually have to do this, but it's just a little cleaner this way. And I'm going to export this to a CSV. Again, important to remember, when you save this, your Excel or Numbers or whichever application you're using is probably going to want to save it in its own format. And if you just want to keep a copy on hand that you want to keep making edits to, it's fine to do that. But when you're getting ready to upload it to the website, you're going to need to save it as a CSV file again. So I just go to export to CSV. And I don't really need to worry about the advanced options. I'll just say next. And we're going to save it to our desktop, and I'll call it Matt's Bookmarks field. Okay, so at this point, I can switch back over to our site. And again, in case you've gotten a little lost, we're going to store, products, and then import product status. And that takes us to our overview screen that shows all of our product classes. We want to upload a bookmark. So next to the bookmark class, under field import, we're just going to click this arrow and this up-to-date thing expands. And we want to click on this link here that says view staged products. So I'll click that, and this takes us to our real workbench screen. This is where we're going to do all the actual hard work. So at this point, we have no staged products. There's a field here where we can attach our file. So I'll click choose file, and I'm going to select that file that I just created and click upload. So it went really fast, but there's a progress bar. So if you have a very large file, you might watch that progress bar, tick for a minute or two while it looks at everything in the CSV. So now that that's gone through, we see in this table down here, what we're seeing is a preview of what it's going to create on our site when we tell it to go ahead. So we can see all of the columns in our table and the values that we put in those columns. And this provides a great opportunity for us to do a quick double check that things didn't get switched. So in particular, we want to make sure that we've got, the SKU in the right place and the sell price in the right place. If we accidentally flip these two columns, sell price and published, everything would be $1. So again, this is just an opportunity for us to give it a little visual check and make sure everything's good to go. Additionally, it says right here under status, staged. And that staged status means that this file has been loaded into the system, but it hasn't been officially fully processed by the system yet. We get a link up here that says there are 1 staged products that have not been validated yet. And I'm sorry for the grammar here. Computers aren't smart about singular versus plural. Hopefully you'll be doing at least 2 staged products and then the grammar will be right. So there's a link under that says validate now. And that's going to move us into the third step of our process, which is the guided validation. So at this point, we've given it kind of a visual look over to make sure that everything looks valid. I'm going to click this link, and now the system is going to do its own validation to double check that everything's good to go. And at this point, it's going to show in the status either ready. In this case, it says ready_new, which means the system has looked this over and it's determined it's a new product and it's good to go. It's ready. If there were an error with anything, the status next to it would say error, and then there would be a message here in the messages column. And that message would tell us what the error was that the system detected. So because we have everything in here good to go, no errors, it says here that we have one product that's ready to be imported, and then we have a link that says import ready products. So when I click that link, we're going to go to a progress bar once more, which is not going to take long because there's only one product in the queue. And at the end of that, it says we've got a product imported successfully and our table's empty again. So let's go to the admin content page. I'm just going to click this content link here at the top. And it should have my stuff sorted by newest first. And here's my bookmark that I just created. So I click that and looks good. Here's everything we provided, right? Here's the title of our product. We have our SKU, our description up here. Here's the picture we sent. And customers can go ahead and buy it for $10.95.
Matt, that's another quick question. The image, does it get resized?
Yes, the image will be resized according to the settings we choose for our site.
Thank you.
So again, I think, Geetha, we have, I know we have content on BookWeb about this, but it all depends on how you configure the display settings for your product type. Yeah, the image styles, yeah. So it's going to respect whatever your image style settings are. And similarly, on my site, I haven't paid that much attention to how my fields are arranged, but if I wanted to hide the list price and cost and put the image at the top and the description underneath it, it's going to behave the same way through this bulk importer as it would through creating a product by hand. There's really no difference in terms of how it's displayed in the end. Okay, so that was a very simple use case. We're going to make it just a little more complicated to get more of a feel for some of the other things the system can do. So let's say that we want to categorize our bookmarks. So we're going to add an additional field to them, and we're going to group them by, maybe by holiday. So we might have, Halloween themed bookmarks and Christmas bookmarks and, 4th of July or whatever. So we're going to go to the structure and content types, and then we'll go to bookmark. So I'm just going to click on manage fields, and we're going to add a new field, and I'll call it bookmark category. And notice that as I type the name of the field, this machine name column will automatically fill in, and it's called field bookmark category. So that is whatever is in this machine name, that's what's going to become our header on our template file when we add new content using this. So I'm going to make this a list text field. And we're going to use a select box. This is just for the admin who creates it. So I'm going to click save, and that'll start the process of creating my new field. And here I have to specify which values are allowed for this field. So let's say we're going to have a Halloween bookmark, we're going to have fall bookmarks, we're going to have holiday bookmarks, and winter, spring, summer, etc. Okay, so all we did there is just specify which values a user can add. Save our settings, and we're good to go. So now, for each bookmark that I add, I'm going to get this additional field here where I can choose which of these categories I want to apply. Now let's look at how that affects the product import. So I'm going to go back to store, products, and then import product status. And when I return here, you'll notice it says that the bookmark field import table is now out of date. And that's because the system can tell that something has changed about that product class since the last time we built our schema table. So we just click the little arrow here, and we're going to use this rebuild option. So this is going to rebuild our schema table based on the product class on our website. When you do this, it's a good idea to make sure that that staging table is empty of any staged content, right? Because if we've uploaded something and it doesn't have a field, and then maybe we add that field and make it required, the products in it could become invalid when we try to process them. So it's a good idea to finish any imports you're doing before you make these changes. So I'll click rebuild, and it's gonna regenerate the table. Once that's done, once again here it'll say up to date, and we're good to go. So in order to make this a little easier to work with, I can actually download a CSV export with our existing products, and that's going to add that new header that we want to work with as well. So I'm going to click this download export link. Again, went by real quick, but you may have noticed there's a progress bar. And again, that's because if I had 10,000 products, it might take a minute or two to build. So we have the little progress bar to show you how it's going. Once the export is finished, I get a link that I can click, and that's going to download my export for me. So I'm going to take this new file here, map bookmark field, and open it in Numbers. Get rid of my old file so there's no confusion. And we can see here that our existing product is in it, same as we created it. Plus, we have a new header for the bookmark category. You may also notice that when I did the export, the image is blank. And the reason the image is now blank is because we've already added it. So we don't need to add it again. And in fact, if we had it in there twice, it might refer to itself. So there's no need for it to like download it and grab it from where it already is. So when you export your products, the image field is blank. And something good to know is that if you leave a field, an optional field that is blank on one of these sheets, and the product already exists, it won't change it. So uploading the sheet again and leaving the image blank, it's not going to remove the image. It's just gonna ignore it, and whatever's there, it's gonna stay there. So we're gonna categorize our bookmark. So this is a Halloween bookmark. And I'm gonna add 2 more products to our sheet. So let's see. We probably need a Santa bookmark. We'll make that $5.99, published. And have a little fun with this. Let's find a picture for it. I'll go with this one. Actually, that one's a little scary. There. Oops, I copied the wrong thing. Got to copy the address, not the image itself. Santa Claus, what is going on with you, buddy? Take that address instead. I don't know why it was doing that to me. And then, so this is going to be a, all right, well, let's just say it's going to be called Christmas. Now, you might be saying it's not called Christmas, but bear with me. I'm trying to illustrate a point here. So we're going to categorize it as Christmas. I know our category is called holiday. And then we'll make one more Make an autumn leaf bookmark. And we'll make that fall. Okay, so I'm gonna save, but remember, I don't just want to save this file, I need to export it. So I'm going to export it to a CSV. And I'll just overwrite the file that already exists on my desktop here. Yes, I want to replace it. So at this point, I'll go back to my import product status page and go back to the staged products screen. Choose my file and upload. And this time we have not one product, but 3 to review. So you can see this works just the same as it did last time. We get a chance to preview all the data in each field. You can see that our new bookmark category field is showing up now. So I'm going to ask the system to validate this. I'll click validate now. And this time we've got a problem. So let's talk about how we are going to deal with that. You see here it says there's one staged product found below with a validation error. Review the status column to identify, et cetera, et cetera. So we can see here that I've got 2 products that passed and 1 that failed. The one that failed, you see it says error, and it says that the bookmark category column contains an invalid value. And that's because I put Christmas in here, but our store category for that, we don't have a Christmas value, we have a holiday. So the other fields are marked ready new, that's the same as the last one, and that's for our autumn leaf bookmark that doesn't exist already. And our other product says ready update. So that means the system recognized it, it's an existing product, and it's just going to make an update to it based on what we asked it for. By the way, that can be an important thing to check for. You may want to check for that ready update when you upload something and you assume it's an existing product. If you see ready new, that means that it didn't recognize it. And the most likely reason why the system would call a product ready new and it should be ready update is if the SKU doesn't match, because it's going to try to look up an existing product using that SKU value here. So we have 1 product to update, 1 product that's new, and 1 product that has an error. So the workflow here, we can kind of go in 2 directions. It's going to allow us to import those 2 products that are okay. So the ones that had no errors, we can go ahead and click this import link, and it's going to run those products through the importer and push them out to the site, and they're done. For our product here that has an error, we have a couple of choices about how we want to handle it. We can simply use this truncate table link, and that truncate table link just removes everything that's currently in the staging table. It just basically flushes that queue so that we could start all over with it. But it's not uncommon to be working on this, and maybe you upload, let's say I uploaded 10,000 products. So let's say that out of that spreadsheet of 10,000 products, 9,500 of them were good to go and 500 had an error. Well, what I can do in that case is I can push through the 9,500 that are okay, and there's a feature here called export errors. And this export errors feature, when I click this, it's going to make a quick export file out of all of the entries in the staging table that had something wrong with them. So I can now download this. There's a link here for downloading the most recent errors, and that's going to give me a new file that follows the same format as our other files, but it's just the entries that had a problem. And this file has an additional column in it called messages, so that I can review all of these in this spreadsheet file in my own time in my spreadsheet program, and I can go through each line and try to correct what was wrong. So in this case, we know that the problem was the wrong category. So we're just going to fix the category. And I'm going to just remove this messages column. It's not necessary to do that. I'm just a neat freak. And I'm going to re-export this to a CSV. Replace the existing file. Yes, I do. And I'm going to run this through one more time. At this point, it's staged, so I'm going to validate it. This time, it goes through just fine. It says that it is ready new because we fixed the category issue. So I can go ahead and import this product now. And now I should have 3 bookmark products up on my site.
Matt, there's another question about the images. Beth asks, does the image have to be online somewhere? Can it be a JPEG that she has on her desktop?
In order for the bulk uploader to retrieve the image, it has to be online somewhere. So that's basically the easiest way to get it in a spreadsheet is as a text link. So what you could do is, if you don't have a link to the image online somewhere already, you just would have to find a place to upload it to, and then link to it, add that link to your spreadsheet from there.
Or Matt, is it also possible for them to create the products without the image and then upload the image manually directly from their IndieCommerce website?
Absolutely. That is another way you could go about it. You don't need to supply an image in the spreadsheet at all if that doesn't work for you. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend uploading. You could technically upload the images to your site, copy the links and put them in the file, but I think you're right, Geetha. If you're going to do that, you may as well just add them to the products on the site as you go.
Thank you.
So that's the basics. And if that is as far as you take this feature, hopefully that's going to be very useful to you in terms of saving time entering all the data. However, there are some additional things that this feature can do, and time's running a bit short, so I'm going to go over them as quickly as I can hopefully without missing anything important. So thus far, we've focused only on the field table. However, there are 2 more tables. There's the attribute import, which allows us to create options and attributes. And the one that you're, I think, maybe a little more likely to use much of the time is the stock import feature. So we're going to take a quick look at how that works. Right now, the stock import for bookmarks is missing, so I'm going to build it. Once it says up to date, you see this is going to work just like everything else has so far. I can download a template or an export. I'll go with the export option. And this file, you can see, is similar to the files we've used so far, but has some different columns in it. In this case, it has the SKU column, which is essential. It also has the adjusted SKU column. The adjusted SKU is for the attributes and options. So we'll talk about that a little at the end if we have time. But basically, if you have a small, medium, and large, you would have an adjusted SKU to identify the specific size. So the base SKU might be catmark123, and the adjusted SKU for a large could be catmark123-L or something like that. If you're not using attributes and options, then the SKU and the adjusted SKU are the same. The next 3 columns here are for stock active, the stock number, and then the stock threshold. So stock active is either 1 or 0, depending on whether we're actually looking at stock for this product or not. So if stock active is set to 0, the system is just going to ignore whatever is in the stock. It might have 0 in stock, it might have 100 in stock, it won't affect anything. But if I set stock active to 1, then the system is going to start looking at stock for this product. So in other words, that means if the product has 0 stock, the customer won't be able to buy it. So I'm going to put, 50 of these in stock, 100 of these, and 75 of these. And the threshold is the limit at which, when there are this many products remaining, it's going to shoot you an email just letting you know that stock is low. If you don't want to use that feature, you can leave it at 0. But I might want to know to reorder my cat bookmarks when I get down to maybe 10 of them left. And we'll just make it 10 for everything. So this works the same way as the others. I just export to CSV. And then I can process it through my site in the same way. This gives me a chance to double check that everything looks right. I can validate it and import it, and it works just the same as the field table.
Matt,
One other feature.
A question related to the stock. Leah asks, do you do the stock after the products have already been uploaded?
Correct. You have to, the product must exist before you can set stock numbers for it. So if you're creating new products on the site, your first step would be the field import. And then once that's done, you can proceed to do a stock import for it next. If you have any entries that don't match an existing SKU, it's not the end of the world. You'll just get a validation error for them. So when you try to run that file through, if it includes a SKU that doesn't match something on the site, it's going to flag it as an error. And you can either download and correct it if maybe the SKU is mistyped, or you can just truncate the table and erase it. So if you've got a spreadsheet of stock information for 200 products and only 150 of them are on the site, you can feel comfortable to go ahead and process that, and it'll update the 150. The remaining 50 are going to show up as errors, and you can just erase them. A popular request from stores who were giving this feature a trial was the ability to handle the two things that change the most commonly, that is stock and pricing, that they'd like to be able to handle those without having to go in to each product class and do it individually. Additionally, the price is in the field import and the stock is in the stock import. So again, it works great when you're establishing a new product class on your site, but if you're just trying to keep things up to date, maybe you're selling stuff in the store as well as your website, and you want to process a file nightly or something so that your website doesn't sell something out of stock, we created a feature to make that easy. So there's a link here that says upload a master stock price file. And this basically allows you to upload a file that works across all product classes on your site. So you don't have to go in and do the bookmarks and the calendars and the t-shirts and the coffee mugs, or the board games. You don't have to do them all separately. You can throw all of those things into one file, and you can supply any updates to the sell price and any updates to the stock numbers and upload it through here. You can also download a file that includes all of your existing stock. So you can download what your site has, make updates, and re-upload it. So I'll show real quick what that looks like too. There's a generate button, and this is going to create an export of everything currently on the site. And when I click download, once again, I get a file. This file is going to be quite a bit larger because it includes everything on my site, including some stuff that didn't show a SKU. I'm not sure why that happened, but it's probably because I deleted some stuff and didn't get rid of it properly. So I'm just going to pretend that's not there. So here you can see that this starts with my test products and has some other SKUs in it as well. So if I want to bulk update these products, I can just set my sell price here and my stock here and upload this file. Another nice thing about this file is that it doesn't go through the same staging and validation and everything else. And that's to make it as quick as possible, because this is something that a store would use, once you're very comfortable with the system and you just want to keep all of your price and stock information up to date. So one more thing, we do have a little bit of time, so I'll go ahead and show the attributes and how that piece works. So for those of you who are not familiar with options and attributes, it's a simple add-on system that's part of your IndieCommerce website, and it allows you to define slight variations of a product. The most common uses of it would be for things like the color or the size, where it's maybe the same product, but you might have a red one and a blue one, or a small and a large. So we're going to define some simple attributes and see how even attributes can be imported in bulk if you want. So I'm just going to go to Products, Attributes. I'm going to add an attribute to my site. We're going to call it size. And then each attribute can have one or more options. So just to keep things really simple, I'm going to create just a small and a large. And I'll put them in the right order. So this time, when we go to import product status, we're going to build the attribute import table for bookmarks. And this time, when I download I'll just download a template. You'll see we have a very simple file format here. It takes the SKU, the adjusted SKU, the size, and then the price. So every attribute that you create is going to have a column here in this file. In our case, we only have one attribute currently on the site. I just created it. It's called size. And the way attributes and options work in UberCart, you don't specify a price for them. What you do is you specify an offset from what's called the base price or the sell price. So in other words, the way that this is really meant to work is if you have a bunch of products and they're not really that similar, you should probably just create them as different products. This is more for if you have a product and it comes in, red, blue, and gold, and the gold one is $5 extra. That is what the system is best for. So in our case, we're going to have, let's take our cat mark 123, and we're going to create a small, and the price is going to be 0, and that means there's no difference in the price. It's the same basic price. Then we'll create a large, and let's say our large is $1 extra. It costs a little more to print. Finally, I mentioned earlier this adjusted SKU. Whenever we create products with attributes and options, we need to create adjusted SKUs for them. And that's so that when a customer buys it, it gets flagged differently on their order. And additionally, when you upload stock for that product, we're going to need that adjusted SKU field. It's going to have to specify the specific version of the product that we want to work with. So we'll create a 123-S and a 123-L for large. So now I can export this as well. And we'll process it real quick just to see how it looks. So here we can see, this is the data we had in our spreadsheet ready to go. We'll validate it. This just makes sure that the options we specified exist and the values in the fields are good. And now when we import, it's going to create 2 variations of our existing product. So when I go back to my cat bookmark, now I have a thing where I can choose the small or the large. And if I choose the large, it's going to add $1 extra. So in my shopping cart, it's going to show $11.95 instead of $10.95. So that's the basics. One more thing to mention here. I'm going to switch back to my slideshow. We have one more new feature which is available, and we're encouraging stores who are interested to try it. It's called the Store Books feature. So since we introduced this custom product bulk upload feature, we've had a number of members ask whether and how they could use it to add used books or signed books to their website. So in order to facilitate that use, we've created this new feature that we're calling Store Books. So a store book is, we define a store book as a version of a book. It may be a book that's already available on your site as a new book, and maybe it's a used copy, or it may be a used copy or signed copy of a book that doesn't currently exist on your site that you want to sell. But in any case, it's a version of a book that is unique to your store. It's not something that you would add through the add a book feature that would go to every store. It's probably a book that you may already sell, but at a different price point. So that feature builds on this custom product bulk upload feature to allow you to upload books that aren't in the system or used or signed copies of books that are. When that feature is enabled, it creates a store book product class. And that product class comes complete with like a dozen or so common book metadata fields. So that means things like the author, the number of pages, the publisher of the book, the binding type. All of those things get created automatically so that they'll be consistent. Those fields can be filled in automatically based on existing data. So if you have a number of used books, or maybe used copies of things that are also in the system as new books, you can upload a spreadsheet that basically includes the ISBN and your unique sell price for that book. And the rest of it, the title, the author, the publication date, all that stuff will be filled in automatically if our system finds a match for it. So you don't have to upload a spreadsheet with all the metadata as long as the book already exists. But it does give you the power to set pricing and inventory separate from the new version of the book. So again, the place where I would imagine that being most useful would be for used titles, where inventory is probably 1 or 2 in most cases, as well as for special signed copies. So if you had if you had some number of signed copies of a book that an author signed for you, this system would help you maintain a separate inventory. So you could say you have 30 of them, and when they're out, and customers can't buy it anymore. And it also allows you to sell those signed copies at a different price than the new copy of the book. This feature is currently in an alpha stage. I think we have 2 or 3 stores who are beginning to work with it for us. So more stores who are interested in it and would like to test it and try it out, you're very welcome to do it. Just ask one of our staff, and they can get the Store Books module added for you.
Yeah, that's correct. Anyone who is interested in adding either the bulk upload of custom products feature or would like to try the Store Books, please send in a request to staff@bookweb.org. Matt, do we have time for a couple of questions?
We do. I just want to add in closing that all of this information is also on the IndieCommerce Help Center at bookweb.org. If you go to custom products, it's called the IndieCommerce Bulk Importer there. So it shows some instructions. It's basically the same stuff that we went over here during this session. So if you want to sort of work through this feature, I definitely recommend checking this article out.
Yes, questions. I think we had a couple of questions about images being uploaded. There were suggestions and questions about whether they can use Tumblr, Instagram, or Dropbox. Have you tried any of those, Matt?
Yeah, all of them should work as long as the images are public. So if you use Dropbox, when you share something via Dropbox and it gives you a share link, that share link just needs to be public. It can't have a password or something.
Okay. And the next question is about the attributes. Tim asks, will all various attributes site-wide appear as columns in the underscore attribute CSV file? Or is it like for t-shirt sizes, will that be the same as the candle sizes? Oh, sorry, the t-shirt, yeah, t-shirt size or the candle colors.
Yes. So every table, and that's because of the way that UberCart works. When you create an UberCart product, UberCart doesn't restrict which attributes and options can be applied to that product based on a class. So the importer works in the same way. We do exclude some attributes and options that are considered system level. Mostly those would be those pertaining to gift cards. So gift cards, the ABA gift card module has some fields for from and to and gift card amount, and we just automatically exclude those so they don't clutter up the file. But any other attributes or options that you create on your site, those will be available for you to add to any product class. If you don't want to use, let's say that you created two different attributes. Maybe you created one set of colors for your candle products and another set of colors for your t-shirt products. You can just remove those columns from the template when you download it if you don't want to use them. You don't have to upload any columns that you don't want to use, or you can just leave them blank and just use the columns that you want.
Next question from Bill. Does the bulk product feature interact with LSI at all, or must all stock numbers be uploaded manually?
Yeah, there's not currently any relationship between this feature and LSI. So LSI pertains only to new books on the site, and the stock feature that we use for custom products, it has a whole separate infrastructure from that. It's certainly something that as we get more stores on board utilizing this, we'd love to be able to combine the two so that you can upload one file via LSI and just every SKU in it gets updated automatically. But as of now, it's two separate inventories.
So just to be clear, Matt, so if a store uploads the full file for LSI, then we ignore, the IndieCommerce system ignores anything that is not a recognized 978 ISBN. But on the custom product upload, they have to be careful only to upload the custom products and not the regular ISBNs.
Yeah, it won't hurt anything to include extra data there. So if they uploaded a file and it had ISBNs and no custom products matched those, they're just going to show up as no match. So it's not necessarily going to hurt anything on the site, but it's just two separate places that you need to upload that data currently.
Okay. Thank you. Then another question, can custom products work with multiple store locations?
At this time, custom products are universal, so it's all across the site. For LSI, we do have that outlet ID feature where you can upload a separate file per outlet. For custom product inventory, the way the system currently looks at it is the custom product is an aspect of the site rather than the store. So there isn't currently outlet ID support for it. Again, I think that's somewhere we'd like to grow toward, especially as we look at this store books feature. As we sort of roll out to stores more opportunities to market their signed and used inventories on their site. I think that's definitely something we'll want to incorporate. But at the moment, it's assumed to be, the same across the site.
Another question about the stock. Does the stock import file have to have all stock or just updated stock?
It's a good question. The answer is it only needs to include the updated stock. And that's true for everything that goes through the importer. It's really a matter of convenience for you. If you would like to export the full file and change two records and re-upload that full file, it'll go through just fine. It won't hurt anything. It just won't make any changes to anything that didn't change. But if you'd rather just supply a file with 5 or 10, items that change price or change stock, that works great. It'll just update those items and it won't even bother looking at everything else. So you can do it either way.
Okay. Thank you. I think we are almost out of time now. So if there are any questions, please feel free to write to staff@bookweb.org and we will direct those questions to Matt. And thank you, Matt. And thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. You will receive a follow-up email with a link to view a recording of today's webinar. It was recorded, and we will provide you with the link. And on behalf of the entire IndieCommerce team, thank you for joining us today, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.